So we are going to attempt to implement a new selector in WebKit, and it's going to be the host. No, it's going to be has slotted. I hope this is all comfortable resolution. Let me know if you would like me to zoom in anymore. I'm going to get myself prepped. What do we need? We need to, we're going to use Searchfox. Searchfox is great. It's like an index of all of the repositories. I'm going to load up WebKit, which is the WebKit repository. I've loaded up the tests. I've imported the tests that Westbrook graciously wrote. Let's go see that. WPT, web platform tests, polls, Westbrook. Yes, these speculatively test has slotted. I pulled these in and we've got a failure, which is good because we're going to try and fix this failure. I have no idea what I'm doing, so it's going to be fun. So first thing, we can go and look at the specs. And the way I have spec'd this so far, which seems to make sense to me, is we're going to have a has slotted pseudo. It's a pseudo class, 1:, and it takes a compound selector. So in this regard, it is kind of like host context. And so if we look at host context, it's a pseudo class, and it takes a compound selector. So my theory is we just rip off host context in terms of parsing. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is search for host context in the code base, and we'll try and figure out how host context is implemented. And isn't it going to be really embarrassing if host context is not even implemented? Is it implemented in Safari? It's not implemented in Safari. That's great. We're off to a good start. Okay, what other selectors are there? What other pseudo functional selectors are there that take a compound selector? I don't think there are many or any. Why don't we, well, we can have a look at, the work did on custom state set. That might get us in the right direction. And it's been a while, so I don't recall exactly how this was implemented. It was all a bit of a fever dream. So not in layout tests, source. I mean, there's a easy first win. We're gonna source web template framework, scripts, preferences, unified preferences. We're going to copy paste this and this will become has slotted enabled, and this is the feature flag that will be required. We'll ship it in testing mode first. So we'll set all of these to false if my editor's going to let me. And all of these will be false before, so we can safely ship it behind a feature flag. So you'll have to manually enable it to work. The human readable name is going to be the has slotted pseudo class, and support for has slotted. So that's an easy first win. The second thing that we actually need to do, select a compiler. So the CSS parser, CSS selector parser. Oh, this is just the serializer, I think. But if we go to source, web core, CSS, CSS selector, and we look around, if we look for state, we can kind of see, so there's this enum. The enum is how each of the pseudo classes are built. Oh, I wonder if WebKit any. What is WebKit any? Would this be the one that we want? WebKit any pseudo. WebKit any. I'm just trying to really find a pseudo class that actually was WebKit any the old name for the has pseudo selector? Oh, Canada Honk says, would host have the same parsing? Probably. We should go find host. Host. Yeah, I think this is the first thing that we're going to do. I'm going to embiggen this window because this is a bit annoying. Can I zoom out? Is zooming out acceptable to chat? So I think we want something like this, right? We want to do like pseudo class has slotted. Presumably we're going to get the selector list and we're going to append it into here. This is just the serialization of this. And obviously we're pretending that has slotted exists, but it doesn't. So we're going to have to find has slotted. So if we go back to the PR, oh yeah, it might be in CSS selector .h. What we can do is actually use search fox here. The symbol definition lookup, like IDE integration for any of these browsers, it just doesn't seem to work very well. So I tend to lean a lot on search fox. Oh, WebKit any is the same as is. Okay. Well, host is a good one to crib off of, I think. The host functional pseudo selector seems to be the one. But thank you. WebKit any is the same as is, TIL. Host context. Yeah, so I'm using search fox because it is way easier to look up symbol definitions than going through an IDE. I haven't found an IDE that works for symbol lookups in any meaningful capacity for any of the browser code bases. Let me know if you know of one. But anyway, we want to see pseudo class host. And so if we click this, he says, what's going on here? We have, whenever there's an update done on search fox, I find sometimes it will just, I need to like hose my local storage to get it to work again. There we go. Okay, I'll zoom in a bit here as well. So this is the same code, but in search fox. So here we can look up the value of pseudo class, and it is in pseudo selector, and it's this CSS selector pseudo class. And so if we go to this, it's generated. That's no fun. This becomes a little problematic because trying to find these generated files, it requires, in fact, usually it requires a bit of institutional knowledge, but luckily here it is actually saying, so there's a CSS pseudo selectors JSON file, and this is where all of the pseudo selectors are defined. So if we go to, we'll need to find the path. The other thing is fuzzy finder is really dreadful. It's very difficult to find files when there's like a million of them. So if I type in like CSS pseudo selector JSON and I spell it right, that wasn't too bad. So in this list, this is the list of all of the pseudo selectors that WebKit supports, and we want to shove our little has slotted in here somewhere. Looks like they're in alphabetical order as well. So I reckon we will do this, and this will be has slotted, and I fancy let's do a little compile and seeing it tell us what's wrong. So I'm going to run build WebKit, --debug and --GTK because I'm on Linux. And we should see some build failures. And I realized that I can resize these windows a little bit. The first build failure we are getting. Oh no, I didn't alphabetically sort this. Is this because capitals are considered alphabetically before lowercase characters? Yeah, right. It is. Okay. Now we start to stutter as my CPU struggles to compile and stream at the same time. Aggressive linting, indeed. So we've got the has slotted. This is the serialization, but we actually need to be able to parse it. And so if we go back to custom state, we can look at the selector checker, and I think this is the kind of thing that we want. So the parser is probably handled by this pseudo selectors JSON. Am I stuttering too much? This pseudo selectors JSON. I think it's just the video, right? Aggressive is definitely a word for WebKit build system. Cool. So we've got this has slotted here. I think this handles most of the parsing, and then it will build the various objects that we need. And so I'm going to do a similar case statement here in selector checker. So if we go to source web core CSS selector checker CPP, and if we look for case, or if we just go to 1075, audio smooth, video stuttering. Yeah, sorry. I mean, it's kind of par for the course for like compiling code. Yeah, we're not in JS anymore. I'm considering like just getting a separate computer and like a KVM or something. But I don't really stream enough to make that warranted. Anyways, we want to implement what did I do here? I did pseudo class type state. Is there a pseudo class type? What's the difference between CSS selector pseudo class and pseudo class type? Or has it just been renamed since I think it's been renamed since I last touched this bit of code. Uh-oh. Did we compile too hard? Are we stopping streaming? Smaller -j. Longer build. Well, I don't mind a longer build. Should we try smaller -j? Stream of not having a fun time. Hopefully we're having a more fun time now. Now I've done smaller -j. Anyways, let's try and get back to actually implementing this thing. Okay, so as Luke helpfully points out, they refactored it not long after custom state sets got merged. Smoother. I meant smaller -j option. Like, wait, what? Smaller? Since -j is, oh, you mean like GTK -j equals like 4? I don't know what the default is. Is there a... what is the default? How many threads do I even have? What's my thread count? I have 12 threads. So what if I did like 8? And then I've got 4 left for the... Did I mention I don't have any idea what I'm doing? I'm sure I did. Okay, so pseudo class scope. So we just want this same kind of thing here. I guess we could look for has or host. So if we do the same kind of thing here for has slotted. Must match host pseudo class. Well, I don't think that's relevant because it actually would have to match the slotted element, I believe. Maybe this is just a return true. What? I don't even know what a... Oh, this is like actually the matching algorithm, isn't it? And so we need to so that this host one must be just colon host, and there's probably another host which is there's another host which is the like host functional pseudo selector, because there's two, right? There's like there's host, yeah, there's host just pseudo element pseudo class, and then there's host functional pseudo class. And so we want the host function. Is host pseudo class? You don't know if there are functions in this file, says Luke. Well, there definitely are, because I saw state in here, and there's like lang and dir here as well. So I think that they're fine. I think we probably just want to do something like I wish we could just do this, right? Selector argument. This should be if I did it in the right one. That's definitely the wrong one to do it in. But we should be able to do something like this, because we're just taking the well, it would need to match the child, I guess. What is element in this context as well? So we're in selector checker. So if I look for pseudo class, I've done this wrong again. Not this one. Where is the has one that I had? Oh, this is the has one. I just didn't rename it. Has slotted. We're doing really well so far. Selector checker. Michael says he hasn't written C++ since those two CS classes 20 years ago. Tell me about it. The first piece of C++ I wrote was like 2 years ago, but it landed in Chrome. I was like, I'm gonna figure out how to do custom elements get name. And I don't know C++, but I'll try. And they accepted the patch, and it shipped. And hence why we're here. Pseudo class state. Right, so element in this context is not actually immediately apparent. I presume it's one of the arguments. Oh, right, context element. And so context is a checking context. So if we go look at the checking context, we can figure out more about what this does and how we might resolve it. I'm failing to see element here. Match host pseudo class. So we saw this here. This is match host pseudo class. Element was what now? This is a huge function. Yeah, element is just the element, but I can't see element in the public. I guess because this is it's not a struct, is it? It's a class. Oh, it is a struct. So it just has an element field, but I cannot see where the element field is defined. It's in the checking context. What is the local context as well? So checking context element. This really would be helpful if this was defined somewhere. I don't understand why it's not defined here. But if we go look at this here, maybe... Oh, I'm misreading the arguments. It is the local context that we want to look at, not the checking context. What is the checking context actually good for? It's really useful having two arguments called context. Even one's called checking even though one is called checking context. But yeah, so context element is the one we're after, and it is a type of element, and so we should be able to use the element APIs for it. So in theory, we should be able to just in theory, we should just be able to call matches or call child. I've lost my position in this sea of words. It's actually quite difficult to type when you're like zoomed in this much. Can I zoom out a bit? Will the chat allow me one more layer of zoom, one more level of zoom? I'm gonna go just check the video quickly. Oh, I think that's readable, right? How is the video? Is it even like tenable watching this video? Is it just too delayed? Shall I go down to J6? I'm going down to J6. Hello, hello friends. Hello everyone that's joining. Hello, Andreas. Thank you, Westbrook. The size is okay. All right, I'm kind of everywhere at the moment. So we wanted to look at has slotted. We're just trying. We're like going to yeet an attempt at element matches. This is wrong anyway because we want the child to match. We want the slotted child to match. So we probably want to like dynamically downcast element into a slot, because has slotted is on the slot element. If we check the proposed specification, matches the slot element, matches the provided compound selector. So it only applies to slot elements. So I think we want to downcast this to a slot, get the slotted element, and apply matches to that. Now that's easier said than done, because each time this is a journey, because I forget how you downcast in WebKit versus like Chrome versus Firefox. I think does WebKit use dynamic downcast? We're about to find out. There's a lot of dynamic downcast, so I think we're going to use dynamic downcast. So we should be able to say like auto slot element equals dynamic downcast. Yeah, Westbrook says screen and audio okay. You just jump around like this sucks. I'm gonna get another computer and stream stream my HDMI out into my other computer. All right, we are going to make progress on this though. So dynamic downcast element. We need to give it a type, so we're going to give it the HTML slot element. If I can type HTML slot element. And we need to check. So we could just check this in an if, because the else condition is just going to return false. Ugh, this is unenjoyable to type on as well because there's actually a delay here because I'm streaming and compiling at the same time. Can I just crank this way down? We're gonna J3. Oh yeah, that's like pleasurable now. I actually have frames per second in my editor now. Okay, so we're gonna return false here. So here we're going to do something with the slot element, and we're going to need to look up, try -j without an equals. Oh, what, you think it's like this? Have I just been messing it up this whole time? Yeah, it's not actually compiling, yeah. Yeah, I don't know enough about the particular compiler commands. I just rely on my history. I guess we could go look this up, but is it actually passing the -j flag down? Just no gap at all. Of course, yeah. I am a Linux enjoyer. I know command line. I promise. You reckon J6 because it wasn't working before? It was just using all my threads because it was like J equals. You think this would be fine? We're like debugging with the 5-minute latency of chat. It's fun. Okay, all right. Let's do real work. So the HTML slot element. So let's go visit HTML slot element.h. So there's an assigned node, which you might recognize from the JavaScript API. Oh, I forgot that you can assign multiple stuff in the slot, which is kind of a drag. Because I don't really want to iterate over them, because I'm sure there's better ways than to iterate over an array of elements. Maybe there's not. Maybe we'll just do the easy thing, right? So we'll just say like slot element to doing this iteration in C. It's like for auto element equals slot element dot. I need to get the vector out actually, don't I? So I'm going to need to say like elements equals slot element. No, slot element dot assigned nodes. I have no idea if this is the right thing, but we'll find out when the compiler yells at me. What are the assigned nodes options? Just flatten. We don't care about flatten, so this is fine. But I guess we need to be like false, and that's not going to pass C, is it? Do we need to like name the struct going in like this? I think. Oh man, my head's spinning. I've been writing like 3 different languages today. Anyways, this is going to be begin This is elements begin. Oh, I guess I can just do a for loop, right? For in, for of. Which one is it? Man, how can I forget how to iterate? Why not flatten? Do we want flatten? You're saying that like has slotted should check to see if why would you want a deep node to match? Because if it's a compound selector, yeah, so okay, yeah, fine. You want flatten. Maybe maybe this is a spec change right here. Because yeah, I guess like has would do the same thing. Canada Honk says, I think I found a solution if you want it. Is this you doing my work for me or what? I'm more than happy to take any and all solutions. My end game is to get this implemented. If it means, you know, however, by whichever means, bribery included. Just for the lag, please help me with the lag. Do I adjust my stream settings or? Shouldn't the select be called something like assigned or has assigned? If the slot itself, if the root is the slot itself and not just any element, has assigned. Yeah, I think the convention is like slotted, right? Like because there is a slotted selector. But anyways, I mean, I'm not here to bike shed. I'm here to implement. Yeah. We can't do web browser development without like intense ad nauseum bike shedding, right? That's par for the course. Okay, I'm gonna learn how to iterate in C++. Yes, I do need to download more RAM. If you have any, if you've got any torrents, RAM torrents, I would love to put them on. I'll need to download a torrent client first, but we can do it. What is a for loop? How do we for? For I just genuinely, it's like 7 p.m. I should have done this in the morning. Is it, there's like a nice, there we go, the colon, that's the thing I was after. So I guess we could just be like, if element matches, and we need parentheses around this, we're not in Rust, return true. Something like that, right? What do we reckon? I know there's like 4 frames a second, so I'll give chat a minute to catch up. Canada Honk, if you got that lag fix now, would be a wonderful time to present it. I wonder if there's anything in my streaming settings. I was considering using GPU streaming, but I tried that before and it did not end well. Number of processors 6. Is that the WebKit one? Are we doing number of processors? Like this. That's unreal. It's quite the command. The question is whether or not we're actually going to improve latency. I wonder if I can drop my like output streaming. Like if this goes to 4, my keyframe interval goes to like 1. I need to get better at streaming so I spend less time. Higher is less CPU. Anyways, maybe we're in the right point now. Are we in the right? I've dropped down my KBPs. Yeah, I think this is tolerable, right? All right, enough streaming settings. Let's talk about compilation stuffs. Are we still in the configuration only stage? No, we're in an implementation right now. This is the implementation that we have. So like let's briefly look over what we just did. For those that joined late as well. So we looked at custom state set was the first thing. And the reason we looked at custom state set was to crib off of it. And so there's a couple of things that we've done. We've got like unified web preferences, which is the feature flag. So we've got has slotted enabled. This is default false, but what this will do, oh, also this needs to be testing. Oh. So this will allow us to work within the feature flag. And then we added the serialization. That was the easy bit, because if pseudo class has slotted, if the like pseudo class matches this has slotted enum, we're going to be like, take the selector list, slap a open parentheses, chuck the selector list in, close parentheses. Serialization, done. CSS selector H enumerates all of the, oh no, it didn't enumerate all of the selectors. Instead, there's like CSS selector JSON, pseudo selectors JSON. And so this is where that got enumerated. It's the JSON generates the enum that we used here. This has slotted is generated from this JSON. So that's most of the parsing done, I believe. And then it's selector checker here. And so we've got has slotted. When we're in this case statement, like this is just the list of all of the pseudo selectors. We just want to say like, yeah, when we're has slotted, we've already got the element to hand. Like luckily all of the infrastructure is there, right? Like WebKit's a fully capable browser that has a bunch of infrastructure to do all of this stuff. And so like it's reasonably trivial to implement some of these things to a degree, or at least, you know, you're not like, oh, I need to write an entire CSS engine before we get to this stage. You know, like some of the other browsers, I tried to implement custom state set in Servo, and there's like a lot of plumbing that goes into something like that like the predominant browsers have already dealt with a lot and already have a lot of, and a lot of the emerging browsers like Ladybird and Servo, you know, they're doing an amazing job, a really truly amazing job. But in some respects they're easier to contribute to, but also in other respects they're a bit harder, because like they don't have like a JSON file where you just shove a pseudo selector in and it farts out a bunch of C++ code that you don't need to worry about, but WebKit does. So I think like this looks kind of reasonable to me. Like we'll put it on the bench, and I'm sure it won't compile. I'm sure there's a bunch of reasons why this is bad, and we're just about to see them. So assign nodes. So I did mean a pointer. I think all of chat was like telling me that I should have used a pointer thing here, that this was a pointer type, but I was ignoring you. Oh yeah, I need to bring in HTML slot elements there, because this is part of the class, so this needs to be assigned. This needs to be like HTML slot element assigned nodes. What else have we got? I bet this is going to fail. Let's have a look. Something about an else statement. Expected comma. What have I done wrong? Oh. The classic, missing a semicolon. This morning I was writing Rust. Then my workday is a mixture of Ruby and JavaScript. And now I'm writing C++. Like, semicolons, it's a hard habit to contextualize or context switch. I'm not always returning. That's a very good point. Thank you. Return false. I guess we could just like fall through. Like this. And we need a break. Oh, we don't need a break. I was misreading. It actually was just telling me, just as you commented, Luke, this statement may fall through. So yeah, this is now we have an arguably more correct implementation. I think this is good. I genuinely am like, I think this is the implementation. Oh, Python and tabs. I couldn't do Python. I think I would write like, is there any like, can you get like what's the TypeScript of Python? Or like the Kotlin of Python? Is there an alternate language that you can use that compiles down into Python? Okay, so selector compiler. Oh, selector compiler is the JIT compiler that WebKit has. So you can do like JIT operations. You can like convert selectors to machine code. We are definitely not doing that. So we're going to go to 1050, which is where this switch is. We're going to go down to some kind of alphabet around here, I guess. These are not alphabetical. They're in if-defs nonetheless. So we need to make sure we're not in an if-def. This seems fine. I'm going to pop it right here. And this is called host. No, this is called has slotted. And we're going to forget about our problems. We're not JIT compiling. Maybe, oh no, I don't want to sort. Where is it? I'll shove it there instead. Some semblance of ordering. I'm trying to think what else could actually be needed, but there's no JS API equivalent where it's all just CSS. There's no IDL. We haven't created any new files. That's always a problem in WebKit. Creating a new file is like way more difficult than you would ever believe it to be. It's like 5 places that you need to add the file name. And you need to like either make up a hash or boot up Xcode to add a file. Invalidating the selector is maybe needed. Oh yeah, that's a good point. We need to go into HTML slot element. Thank you for that, Luke. That's a very good point. We need to find like slot changed and queue slot changed event. And we're going to need to kick up. Should it be assigned elements? Should it be assigned elements? Is it not assigned elements? Ah, that's a very good point. Thank you. Thank you, Westbrook. You're very right. It should be assigned elements. We need to queue a slot change event, and we need to basically construct a CSS invalidation class. I did this in custom state selector. So if we look at custom state set, yeah, this is the one. We need to do this doubly, but it doesn't need to be optional. I'm probably going to get told off for doing this. There's probably a better way to do it, but I don't know how we're going to do this because it requires this in place. If we like... we go here, we can look at the like definition of this. The pseudo class change invalidation. Do you know what? I'm just going to like full screen these things. I think it'll be easier. So we like have a, you pass in the element, you pass in the pseudo class. I don't know what bool value. Invalidation scope all is probably what we want to set. And in the pull request for custom state set, I think I did what did I do? Oh, in place was the because it's an optional. Because it's std optional, it places it only if it had the state to begin with, so it doesn't invalidate if you like remove a piece of state that isn't already in there. Does slotted have an invalidator that we could learn from? Yeah, probably. You would think actually in that case that I've lost my train of thought. You'd think in that case that HTML slot element, like maybe we don't need style invalidation, because if we did, HTML slot element would already do style invalidation, right? What was the name of the class? I've already forgotten, and I've lost it. Pseudo class change invalidation. Like it doesn't actually invalidate anything. So maybe there's like some other slot machinery. Maybe we can look at how elements get slotted. Oh, and I'm in the header file. It might help to be in the CPP, which maybe does do this. Invalidate, no. So assigned nodes, assigned elements. So assign here says get the shadow root. If we're in manual assignment mode, then you can set the manually assigned slot. Then there's some standard exchange. I don't know what this is. Standard exchange. Doesn't have any other selectors on itself, does it? Does the slot element have selectors on itself? No, I guess not. Is slot because slotted is on the... Well, no, slotted is on the slot element, right? I don't even know what slotted is on now. MDN slotted. It's a pseudo element anyway, which has like a whole different set of rules. Because it targets the element itself rather than the slotted is on any element other than yeah. It's on everything but the slot element. Or I guess it could even be in a slot element, but yeah, it's like it targets the element. We could go look at slotted then. So this is interesting. Slotted tag. Maybe not so interesting. Yeah, I don't know how we would look up when an element changes its slot other than going to slot assignment, and maybe there's something there. But yeah, does it just do Nodes is like a vector of nodes. Nodes append. Oh, that's flattened die. I want assign. Slot manual did assignment change. Set manually assign. Maybe it's this slot. Search. Oh, there's like two for manual and named. Manually assigned slot containing shadow root. Set manually assigned slot. In queue slot change event. Maybe that does something. Schedule slot change if needed sounds promising. Which is just a like lambda in here. And that just does the enqueue. So maybe enqueue does something. And enqueue doesn't really do much. Queue, this doesn't look like it does much either. I'm thinking this might be a dead end. I'm almost tempted to like write it. Yeah, I think Luke, you might be right. Like it invalidates stars for the whole subtree, and so like what I'd be actually tempted to do is do less overall work here, and just write tests, and like we can use the tests as acceptance criteria to determine if we actually need to do any kind of invalidation. But I'd wager like maybe not. Maybe we can get away with it. Maybe there's already machinery for that. But what we do need to do is like fix basic errors that any normal C++ developer would trivially be able to resolve, and I need to spend like 5 minutes reading. So it doesn't know what elements is from assigned nodes. Well, that's assigned elements now, so that should be fine. It should know that that's an element, right? Because assigned elements is a vec ref of elements, yeah. So, well, I guess that needs to be auto, not pointer. Which probably means this needs to be, should this be ref element? I think this should be ref element, which means this is dot, right? I'll wait the 3 minutes it takes for comments to come in to affirm that I was correct, or that I was not, and that I'm profoundly incorrect, which is probably more the case. It's 7. I scheduled 2 hours for this. What do we reckon? Can we resolve this in yeah, this was a bit too easy, right? Element does not have matches. Let's go to element H and find out what it does have. If I can remember what I'm even doing now, my browser, right, cool. Well, it's element.h. Kick in, there we go. I thought element has matches, or is it? Yeah, matches. A string of selectors. What is the issue here? It's because it's a weird wrapper-like pointer is. You're suggesting that I need... Oh, because like the ref itself. So I need to trigger like a dereference overload that ref has to get to the, so it would either be calling get or like treating it like a pointer so that it dereferences and gives me the underlying object. That makes sense. C++, man, it's weird. There's a reason I picked WebKit to do this to begin with, because doing this in Firefox will be arguably less fun, maybe more fun to a certain degree, but a lot of the Firefox CSS stuff is written in Rust, but it also means that there's a lot of boilerplate between the boundary layer between C++ and Rust. You have to like just write a ton of different things to get it to work. There's a glue layer. Luke says someone needs to build a browser in Kotlin. I couldn't disagree more. Couldn't disagree more. Matches, exception or bool. Can we just... How do we unpack the exception? Can CSS throw errors? Not going to happen, is it? So there's an exception or... I think I'm just going to call return value and probably wait for someone to tell me that I need to do something like release exception. But this maybe will get us close enough to it. So matches.return value should give us what we want. Yeah, I think it would be great to see like more of a concerted effort for, well, just everyone in general, but browsers especially, to move away from like C++. Like, I think there are far bigger problems in the web platform landscape than C++. Like, there are far bigger existential threats to the web than a crusty language, but it would still be nice if there was an alternative browser with large predominance that was not written in C++. You think I need release return value? Says Luke. Let's do it. We're one compile away from finding out, so why not? I wish this were more exciting, but I think this is like a reasonably straightforward thing to implement. Like, this is not... obviously this is not even working yet, but this has not been as difficult as, say, for example, CSS custom state set, or I don't know, other implementations that I've done. I think a lot of the CSS machinery is like kind of there already for you, so it's quite simple. You just gotta massage the objects, right? But I guess there's not much else here, right? The CSS custom state set had a whole object, IDL, API, all of that stuff. This just has a selector. I'm sure invalidation will kick us up the arse, though. We are roughly 600 files away from finding out if this is doing anything useful. Maybe I'll crank it. Should we crank it to 8 and see what happens? Whoops. My fans are spinning more. The question is my frames are my frames per second dropping down? Which I guess we'll find out. Yeah, I feel like there's not much to do now, right? We should look at the spec. I think actually... oh yeah, the spec already had after flattening. So Westbrook was 100% right. We even expected to do exactly that, and I totally missed out on that fact. Justin says, is there a missing word here for child elements? When evaluated in the context of a shadow tree, matches the slot if one of its oh yeah. This should probably say assigned elements after flattening. So let's just edit that. Oh no, where are we? That's slotted. Didn't land me on the line. This should say assigned elements. Fix typo. Look at this. We're doing spec and C++. We're like living on the edge. In any other context, it matches nothing. Pseudo class only exists on slots. Specificity of how slotted is that of a pseudo class, so we don't really need to do anything there. Plus the specificity of its argument, we may actually need to do something here. I'll figure that out for another day, but maybe that's a good example of tests that can be written in WPTs. So I think we could like compile a list of tests, which I might do in here. Let's have a look. So general. Hey gang, let's write some WPTs for has slotted. So invalidation was one, and that's when slots change their slotted contents. The CSS selector should invalidate. So has slotted div shouldn't apply when we change this, change the slot to a span, for example. So that was one of the tests that I know are missing. And then this other one, which is I just read specificity test. The specificity of the inner compound selector matches the takes precedent over less specific selectors lower in the cascade. So has slotted div foo would still beat has slotted div even if the latter were lower in the CSS file. Oh, weird. Yeah. Cool. Gonna put the group on it. The gang is gonna write some tests. I am confident of their abilities. The Web Components community group will always prevail. Do we want to use shadow markup here? I'll have to look at this later. I don't understand what this comment really means. Did this refresh? We did like an edit, right? Yeah. Given my fans are still spinning, I'm guessing. Oh yeah, look at this. 73. Oh. What do we do with this? Well, I'm not sure what to do next. I guess we can formulate a PR. But we can, like, I don't know if there's much more to do on top of this. I feel like we're like close to an implementation. I was hoping that this would compile in enough time that we could actually get the tests running and confirm that some of this stuff actually works. Maybe we need a little break mode. Maybe I'll pop on some music and we'll go compile. We'll have a little break and we'll come back. How do I put on background music? There we go. I have no idea what you're listening to. But enjoy that. And I'll rank this. This can go up to the full 12 and hopefully compile a bit faster. And I'll go grab a drink. How's that? Oh, that was fun. My green screen decided to not play ball because it's like directly behind me, like it's here. So I literally cannot step out without crashing into it, and then I thought I'd try and sneak around it and the whole thing fell down, and then I had to reassemble it. But I have a drink now, so cheers everyone. Yeah, let's do a little Q&A round if my audio is still going through okay. Westbrook asks, normally do you run WPTs against the local compilation? And that is exactly right. Once this is compiled, we have the tests imported that you so kindly wrote. And so with those imported, I can just run them against the local compile. In fact, I can run... I won't be able to because it... Obviously, during a compile, it like yeets the old compile away. But I did run them prior. I wish I had a screenshot or something. But we confirmed they were failing at the beginning of the stream. And now we're compiling, and hopefully once this has compiled successfully, we will be able to, you know, hopefully they'll pass. That's the hope, right? They'll do something. They will probably fail, and then we'll scratch our head for ages as to why. But if they pass, then that's been a huge success. About the worst thing that they can do, other than failing, is crash the browser. As seems to happen a lot for me. Every time I do a compile and I think, this is it, I've definitely got the right solution here. And then I crash the browser, and then I have to look at why. And I'm too afraid to open GDB because it's scary. And so I just try and stare at the code long enough until I can figure out why. Which has helped. Staring at code often helps. Look. We're not even halfway through this compile yet. So I think on my to-do list is to set up a different box. A different machine that I can like stream my HDMI into so that these compiles don't totally hose the stream. Yeah, remote flakies are terrible too. I wonder if there's anything I can do to like make my stream that little bit more tolerable. Output streaming. Like if I did VBR, is that going to help? I don't know any of these things. Someone, is anyone good at streaming? Anyone know these settings? They're going to take like 5 minutes for the video to catch up. Oh, there it is. I like this piece of information. It says here CPU usage preset. It says higher is less CPU, and then you click it, and I have no idea what is higher, because do they mean higher vertically in this list? Like if I did ultra fast, is that going to use less CPU? I don't know what this setting means. I don't know how what this hint means. Like, what is placebo? What is very slow? Anyways, these are my stream settings. If anyone would like to help me make this better, I'm sure there's just like no way. It's just like get a faster computer or like compile. Don't compile as much. I guess it's the compiler working properly, right? You want it to utilize all of your cores. Do we actually have errors, or are we just... We have errors. Testing is not a member of feature status. As in unified web preferences. It's not testing. Is it test? Testable. Testable. That's gonna be like 1,000 new... Ah, I knew it. Well, I was just about to say that we're gonna need to compile like 1,000 new files for that one line change. Because everything depends on unified web preferences. Okay, luckily it's chewing through it at a reasonable pace. This is the fun bit about browser development, is you get to sit here for a while. What I probably should do... Ah, not that. One thing I forgot to do at the beginning of the stream is plug in this other light, which might actually help my green screen, if I can remember how to plug it in. Well, it kind of works until it switches off for some reason. That's cool. Oh, it's back on now. I don't know if that made any difference whatsoever, but whatever. Let's see, this is actually a light. Yeah, there we go. Exciting stuff, right? Getting to watch me play with my green screen rather than actually doing browser development. Is there anything... Does anyone have any questions about where we've got to so far? We're in the lull phase of the stream. I apologise. I think it's just been quite a straightforward implementation, I guess. All of the hubris. Oh, look how easy this is. It's not going to be this easy, is it? We have yet to run into the real problems. I don't think any patch that I have submitted has ever been this easy. And so if this is... if this is actually this easy, I may have to celebrate. We're so close to a full compile. Some kind of compile cache would be nice. Or like faster machines, I guess. If anyone wants to sponsor a faster machine for me, I'd be more than happy to take your money. This is actually not all that slow of a machine, and I recently got a Ryzen 9 and 94 gig of RAM, but as you can see, it's having a moment. We're closing on the last 100 files. This is where like other professional streamers have like a litany of content that they can read through, right? Like they do, what's it, like reaction videos. I just need to be doing reaction videos whilst this is compiling. Instead, I'm just going to read my messages. I'm definitely going to have to invest in a better streaming box though, because then we could actually do other stuff. I don't see much point if you're watching this at like 2 frames a second. All of you who are still watching, I commend your patience. We're very nearly there. There's less than 100 files left now. Well, a little over 100 files left now. We will soon see the fruit of our efforts. Can I, like... Yeah. Just gonna black out my screen for a second. Gosh, my machine is very slow. It is struggling to keep up with the fact that I'm even streaming an entire black screen. You'd think that that would actually like be easier on the processor, but I guess not. Just me in a void right now. Westbrook says, do you know if there's a testing convention in WPT for CSS selector invalidation? Something similar to the green box or so? Yeah, I mean, I guess just kind of make it up as you go along. Like, I think that the green convention is really just so that you can visibly see whether or not the layout tests have passed. And you'll see in a second when this fully compiles what it looks like to run the test in WebKit at least. You get like a test summary, and it will show you the difference between the rendered outputs, the expected output, and the rendered output that WebKit like produces. And so you'll see why it's important to have like green as a selector, as a color for like an affirmative test rather than the other way around. You'll see why that would be confusing. And for the benefit of everyone else, when Westbrook was writing these tests, I believe you had it such that the successful test used the color red. And I think Tab pointed out that the convention is that it should use the color green because it will make it less confusing when assessing test failures. I think that's just one small convention, but in general, yeah, you just use red for a failure mode and green for a success mode in the tests is not a bad idea, but you could also just use any other color or any other CSS computed property and just assert that those are true or false. It doesn't have to be a visible test. It can just be an assert in JavaScript. There could be nothing rendered on the page. And in fact, there are kind of two types of WPT. There are those that are like layout rendering tests, and they tend to not have any assertions, and the expectation is that like the images match up. But then there are ones that just assert in JavaScript. They literally do like a assert equals or something, and you can just use computed style, like get computed style on a node to test that the CSS that you were expecting has applied, and then yeah, you could do like font weights or something just to test, you know, the number that you expect from a particular CSS selector. So it doesn't necessarily have to be red and green, but if you are painting something to the screen, just know that some browsers will use that in the test results, that you can literally like open up the test dashboard and see like this is a red box, this is a green box, these are the failing tests. And in 5 minutes I will hopefully demonstrate exactly what I mean there. We're nearly down to 60 files to compile. I do find the last bit's the slowest though. I should turn my screen back on before I forget and start explaining to a blank canvas. Is it this one? Yeah. Oh, look at this. We're churning through them now. Even on get computed style tab asks for red green as a follow-up change. Yeah, I think that that's an acceptable review commentary. Again, I'll hopefully when we run the mini browser, hey, we are compiled. So everyone who is like put this in the background whilst they like do other things because it was getting a bit of a lull, we can run this WebKit test and we can see what we have done, what we have accomplished. So look at the screen now. It is building, it is running. It failed unexpectedly. Right, here we go. So this is the test dashboard. This is like the layout test results page that you get in WebKit. And if I click expand all, we can see the diff. And so we can see here, this is the expected result. Test passes if there is a green filled square. This is the actual image differed against the expected. And you can see why the red-green thing is like relevant here, because if it was red for passing, this would be quite a confusing test to look at. But we can see we're red, so we didn't do the thing that we wanted to do. So what we can do is we can open up the inspector and we can try and figure out why that is the case. So I don't, this test this test results thing is not the actual page, but we can open up the page normally. Oh, has it done a weird thing? If we open up the page, which I guess would be in layout tests, imported. No such file or directory. Perfect. Oh, WebKit build is wrong. Yeah, there we go. Right. So we can see that it's a red square. And so if we go to the shadow content, if we go to the, so we got has slotted star. It could be that the star selector wasn't working for some reason. I don't know why. But I'm just going to have a noodle around and see what we get back. So if we do like $0 matches, has slotted, and this is incredibly slow because this is like debug build with debug symbols. I realize I'm not even showing it properly. Can I zoom in? Can't zoom into the console here, but okay. So has slotted is not a valid CSS selector. So we did nothing. We've achieved nothing in this 2 hours. Why is has slotted not a valid CSS selector? We added the parser for it. Have I been dumb? Have I CSS? There's no, I don't think there's a find in this. Is there? Has slotted. There's no has slotted in here. Has slotted. Aha! Has slotted. Let's try refreshing and trying again. Still has slotted is not a valid CSS selector. Okay. Let's go and look at the parser tests instead. They might give us more indication as to what's happening. To work without start, yeah, we should try that as well. But I'm going to try the parser tests just in case they give us any more insight. And so we had a bunch of parser tests that you graciously wrote. So let's have a look at those. And so they're in CSS selectors parsing. We don't want reset results. That will change the expectations. So this failed unexpectedly. Actual failure missing. So has slotted bar is not a valid selector still. I do not understand why it is not a valid selector. Pseudo classes. Has slotted argument required. And state is here as well, right? State. Oh, do we need this? And what was the has slotted enabled? That shouldn't be required because that's only like conditional on the actual flag. Let's go have a look at the WebKit. Go have a look at the custom state set pull request and see what went wrong, what we're missing. This is all I have to go on. So I know the code here, so I know what we can do to kind of diff between the two. We don't care about layout tests. Let's see, make lists. We don't care about these. Built-in names we don't care about. We did this CSS selector. So pseudo class type was the one that was generated, right? Selector checker we did. I don't think I did this. Maybe we need that. Ugh, what happened there? Oops. That's not even a thing anymore. Maybe it's this one. Nope. Parser context. This shouldn't necessarily be, well, we might need this for the feature flag, but this shouldn't be needed otherwise. Yeah. This is probably what's needed. I missed this kind of bit, the entire bit of parsing. So let's try and do that. So we did the checker. We forgot to actually parse it though. I'm pretty sure. Select a parser, right? No, because yeah, selector parser. Is this all, this was all handled in JSON now, right? Or is it not? State. I guess not. Yeah, this is the actual bit we need. We'll just take not and we'll do the same here. So pseudo class has slotted. I have no idea what that means, but I like not just takes a it's a complex selector. We should probably find one with a compound selector. So WebKit any is going to be a forgiving host. Here we go. We'll take this. We'll chuck this in here. So we consume a compound selector and some white space and a block end. This would be the CSS block is like a thing that's like has parentheses. So at end is just like the character is at the right parentheses. And then we're going to adopt the selector and it's a mutable CSS selector list. And we're going to return the selector. This is probably the missing piece of all of this. Build. And we'll watch the frames dip. Hello. We got a build failure. What has gone on? JSON. All right. Hopefully this will be not too terrible. We should have slightly faster compiles now. I thought it was too easy. Okay. Right. We need to add the context stuff now as well. So let's go copy paste that. Or in fact, let's cheat. Let's not do that. Let's just get rid of this for now. Just so we can see results because it's the last 10 minutes. And then I can just add that back in. And whilst that's compiling, we can go and have a look. So the parser contexts needs this additional flag. So if we go back and we go to CSS parser context. We need to say has slotted enabled. And then this is just going to say has slotted enabled. And this is the API for the feature flags within WebKit. And then we're just passing it on as a flag here. And then we're going to need to also add this flag to a header file somewhere, I think. Yeah, see this in add, I guess. I don't know. Maybe if I search for custom state set. So we're going to say has slotted enabled. This is going to be 27, which means this is going to be 28. And the reason I put it before here is because there's a literal comment telling me to do so. Before you thought I had any kind of foresight or intelligence. I'm just doing what I'm told. Select a parser. So we could consider doing something like this in selector parser. Do we do that? Do we do custom state? State? No. Was it what? This was parser CSS selector parser. This is CSS selector parser as well. That's curious. I wonder if this has changed. Enabled. It's right here. There's one there. Oh, it needs a capsule? No. View transitions enabled. CSS nesting enabled. Yeah, it seems to have changed at least. What was this block? Parse pseudo class selector 781. Parse pseudo class selector. I think this has been refactored a fair amount since custom state set, because I don't see much of the same code here. We're in the same place. Anyways, let's try running it again. Let's run the parser tests and we'll see what happens. We still failed unexpectedly. Did we fail less or did we fail the same? Is the question. Oh, we didn't fail. We failed by parsing. That's what happened. We failed by parsing. Some of these still aren't working though. So div plus div looks like it doesn't. And the others, yeah. So div plus div may not be a valid selector because plus is a combinator, and I believe well, but then yeah, no, because has slotted takes a compound selector, and a compound selector is a selector that has like it can have any number of constituent parts that aren't combinators. Like it selects for one element, right? So div plus div is not a valid has slotted or it's not a valid compound selector, and if we want has slotted to use compound selector, then it's not a valid has slotted selector. We could change the semantics of has slotted to use something like a forgiving selector, which is what like is and has and where use, but I don't think I am dubious as to whether or not that would like be accepted in the working group. I'm happy to raise it, but I think like I think a compound selector is the right choice here. But if we feel adamantly that like has selector div plus div should work, then I think we can. But it gets really complex, right? Because like with combinators, you can select all kinds of weird nodes that I don't necessarily think would make sense in the slotted context. So I think even erring on the side of caution, like compound is the right choice. Anyways, this is parsing. So the real question is whether or not we get to see the fun this one pass. And if it just doesn't wait, should give us the browser and we can see like a 0 pixel diff. That would be fun. Takes a while to spin up. I see a significant drop off in viewership, and so for those of you who are stuck around till the end, we finally got the glorious sea of green. I appreciate all of you for hanging around, providing moral support during this live stream. Where is this browser? Why is this not starting up? I'm going to restart. This does not feel like that took way too long to start. Come on. It's just like, look at it, it's not doing anything. I don't know why. Do the thing. Come on. Are we actually... Oh, it's never going to work, is it? I'm wondering if it's hanging, actually. I I wonder if we just created an infinite loop. Should we go check our... Oh, we failed with a crash. I think we've just created an infinite loop. Yeah. Damn. Something about this is wrong. So it's going to need to be worked on a little bit more. But we got the parsing stuff done. So I will... let's do a little tally of what we've done so far. So we've added the feature flag. We serialized the selector, and so like if we have a has slotted, we append a open parentheses, we build the selector text of the selector list on the inside, and then we append the right parentheses. This is the checker, which seems to be failing, and this is the feature flag, more feature flag stuff. And then here is our parser where we just like find the has slotted selector, consume the block, and build the selector list. And that's pretty much it. It took us 2 hours, and as a result we have an infinite loop. But I will push this to a draft pull request and we can see. Westbrook says, we added div plus div because it technically doesn't break the deep slotted barrier, but it does sound that there's a type between a thing and all of the things. Yeah, so yeah, the plus is a combinator, and there's no real like distinction between specific combinators in terms of a selector list. There's just all of the combinators are part of a selector list. And like combinators are like the space, which is a child combinator, right? Or like a descendant combinator. So if you have div space div, then you can like select for deep nodes, which is why generally there are some restrictions around where selector lists can be used. And like compound selector is like a single selector. It selects for like one element. But like other combinators are like, they select for like siblings or up and like not up and down the tree, but like left and right in the tree. And that can complicate a lot of things. So yeah. I think it could be fine to use a selector list, like a forgiving selector list. It depends on what we want has slotted to do. If it's like has inside of a slot selector, then forgiving selector list makes a lot of sense. Otherwise, I think a compound selector makes sense because you are just referencing one element. You're saying like the slotted element, like the element inside of the slot is one of these things, right? You're not interested in targeting like multiple children, like yeah. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like I say, we can always revisit and use a selector list. At any rate, we've got to figure out why we're infinite looping, but I'm out of time. I've got to go eat some food. Westbrook says, wonder if CSS working group would be interested in segmenting horizontal versus vertical selectors, plus and tilde, staying at the slotted layer, maybe being the only horizontal combinators. I think we'd have an easier time floating the idea of has slotted being a forgiving selector list rather than a compound selector. And it is something I'm happy to discuss. I will just take direction on whatever the CSS working group has on that. Yeah, like the greater than operator is like a descendant, and space. Yeah, they're both like descendant operators. Yeah, and they take you down in a vertical manner is exactly the issue at hand, I think, because I don't know. But then if we're using a flat tree, then maybe it doesn't matter, right? Like all of we're using the flattened assigned elements. Maybe we don't use the flattened assigned elements. Maybe we use the non-flat tree and we allow for a selector list. Maybe that's the change in the spec. At any rate, I think we're done for today. We've spent 2 hours on this. We got it parsing. We didn't get it matching. Instead, we got it crashing, which is even worse. But I think we made progress. And so with that, I'm gonna see you all later. Bye for now.